Thank you. I thank PMI KSA for giving me the opportunity to share with you this presentation. Of course, I have to thank you for waiting this long, and I'm keeping you from going home. So I will try to make this worth your waiting. What I'm going to share with you is how to build a structured approach or process to build a world-class project performance planning and delivery. This is what I'm going to share with you. This is the journey basically with the stops in it, and finally I will share with you what is the added value for implementing capital efficiency processes. We'll start, what I'm going to share in all the presentation today, somebody has touched a topic during the day, starting with the benchmarking. For a company to reach a world-class performance in capital efficiency, first they have to benchmark themselves against the industry. So know where your company is performing, or your organization, could be a government organization, versus the industry. And that basically will put you in somewhere. This is just a depiction of what the cost is. So maybe you are somewhere, this is the industry average, and this could be where the best in class. So first, partner with a benchmarking company to help you, and I'm just sharing some of those benchmarking companies. Then identify your gaps. So these benchmark companies will help you identify the gaps, where your gaps are. And there are several areas in capital efficiency. Not only cost is the major area that you want to reach, but could be you're performing in schedule, could be you're performing in project controls, or many other elements that help you achieve world-class performance. Then set the objective. Identify on your roadmap where you want to be. So, for example, in terms of cost, let's say that you want to be the best in class. Some, they are so far from industry average, they just want to reach industry average. So either way, you make sure the company set that goal. Now, how to get there? Once you set the goal, and you know where you are versus the industry, I'm going to share with you 7 areas, I call them 7 promoters, for you to reach your goal. First, basically these are the 7 promoters. If you are a large company, like I work for Saudi Aramco, and therefore we have a very huge portfolio of capital projects, we start on a portfolio level. We look down more than just our capital program, we look further. Some company look over 10 years, some company 7 years, some company 10 years. But whatever that your company or organization, you need to look at those forward-looking assessment. And what you need to do is once you look at your portfolio, you make sure that you know what skill that you need to execute that portfolio. If you have gaps, then you need to set up to bridge that gap. In other words, if you have gaps in your resources, either you acquire the resources or contract with service providers to bridge the gaps. Could be, then you look at the market. So basically you're doing a link between demand and supply. So your demand is your portfolio and whatever you have internally. And then you look at the market and you see how the market will react or be able to perform sometimes. And we are living in an area where you have engineering skills scarcity. It's a worldwide, not only in the kingdom or the Gulf area. So you see how you're going to bridge these gaps. Identify those risks and build mitigation plans. Next, we go into the project level. Once you start on a project, assign an executive sponsor. An executive sponsor is a high level who's going to own that asset. And he knows why that business objective is built. He knows why this capital project is being put on the company or on the organization to develop. So he knows the business requirement, the business objective. He sets the project's targets and he monitors them. He looks at the trade-off. As we all know, projects are a triangle between cost, schedule, and quality or scope. So he makes these trade-off decisions during the life cycle of the project. And also, he, just as a previous speaker was saying, talking about stakeholder alignment, he ensured that all the project stakeholders' needs are met. Second, the third is now the team who's going to execute the project. It should be made of all teams together. We had some discussion in the breaks, and people were thinking, I am a project management, he is engineering, and that guy is procurement. And the cross-functional team, project team, they all work toward that objective. Say they're all one team. In fact, what we say in this process is the project management leader should be involved during the project design, because his experience in construction and what's going to go into construction, he sees it ahead of time, and he can make suggestions in the design that will help the project in performance. Again, we're sharing some the previous on the 3D modeling, where they say 1 day of savings in that project equals to something like $100 million. So, and you can spend 100 days in planning, you're not going to spend as much money or even impact on schedule on a day interruption during construction. So, well-planned team work together in order to support timely decision-making. Of course, they are complying with all the standards and ensuring that all the required skills are identified and available on the project. Fourth is the gated process. This is basically a decision-making process. So every phase of the project is critical with certain activities and deliverables. At the end of that stage or phase, there's a decision-making process. In fact, in the industry, and there is a book for a mega industrial project I recommend reading it by Ed Morrell. He's saying that these gates at the beginning are so important. In fact, the one after the scope is the gate that decides the project to go or no go. In other words, kill the project. Where a lot of people think that the project is done after preliminary design, which is the final investment decision. In fact, that decision gate is deciding whether that project is good to do now. It must have been decided that's a good project, but maybe the market condition changed, and then the corporate will say, well, during that final investment decision, we'll proceed with it or not proceed with it. So these are essential gating systems to help you. There is, of course, in the PMI book of knowledge, similar gating system. I don't know if I can go there and just share with you. Okay, so this is like from the PEM, the gating system. It's the same thing. I'm just trying to illustrate that this is normal in every project that you need to do. The only difference is that decision gate. Fifth is the project target setting. Project target setting is different than estimating. If you recall, if I go back to this slide, yeah, I started with benchmarking. I said your corporation should benchmark your project, and you know where you are, right? So if you set your target to be here, so now when you do and you define your gaps and you decided where you're going to go, then the target setting is basically telling every project where it should be. Now, we know that we are performing on the average this much above industry in terms of cost, or how far we have gaps in terms of our controls, and we want to be world-class. So on this project, you set these targets, and if you run your estimates or your schedule, your cost, you're far off your target, then either you have a decision to make. Because I want to be world-class, I'm going to go back to my scope, or better yet, leverage these technologies, what we were looking at this morning. This morning we have seen many technologies that help you listen, accelerate schedule, avoid construction hiccups. So in order for you to have achieve your target. Next, here comes the cold iron rule. Before each gate, an independent review team comes and help the project team identify any risks that has not been mitigated or any opportunity that could be captured to improve the capital investment. So basically this team will come and find what are these risks. They will put them on a heat map, will show you what is the impact of these risks not mitigated and how urgent you need to mitigate them. And that basically will put these risks. These are presented to the decision maker at the gate, and the decision maker will make an informed decision whether to recycle the project or proceed knowing that these risks has to be mitigated or resolved within the next phase or further later phases. Last one of the promoters, if you are going on this journey, you need an oversight committee. And the oversight committee should be made of senior management, corporate management, and the organization, because all of these enablers, if they don't do them rigorously and being so religious about implementing them, you will not going to reap the benefit of getting the world-class performance for capital efficiency. So they will ensure that all teams follow these new processes. So in implementing these enablers, we'll try to share with you some of the lessons learned. Many of the projects do customs design, so we're saying it's so repetitive of these projects. If you have used a standard design rather than custom design will help you. The executive sponsor, which basically representing the owner. If you are building a house, you are the owner of the house, and the corporation, the executive sponsor, is representing that ownership of the owner of the house. And as we said, he made this trade-off decision. What we also learned is that there is a decision maker who is the corporate, right? It is a good idea that the project sponsor, the executive sponsor, not a member of the corporate team, because he will be wearing a decision maker hat and a project executive hat. So that will help the team, will not help the team get that leverage from the decision maker. He might bypass the decision maker. Do not undermine the process, the project target setting process. It is a very important process. Will help the corporate reach this world-class performance relative to the industry. The gating system brings structure and ensures that front end of the project is done properly before you go into execution, and therefore you avoid the delays and change orders and PCRs and the execution. Optimizing project in terms of cost, schedule, and quality is the responsibility of the cross-functional project team. A lot of project team, they hurry up and think that the independent review team or the cold eye review team will catch these unoptimized areas and optimize for them. In fact, if they catch them before the gate, that's too late. You're delaying the project because you have to capture it. So auditing project controls is not the same as the independent project team. These are different. Auditing as a PMO, Project Management Office responsibility. Audit is basically ensuring that you follow procedures. Maintain the oversight committee when you are implementing this journey all the way until these processes is well structured in your corporation to make sure you reach your goal of meeting your performance that you are set to meet. Now, just one more slide. Since we are a PMI, we're a lot of us engineers, I cannot have a presentation without an equation. So here is my equation. Don't get plugged by it. But the question, they said, why am I implementing capital efficiency? What value that brings to me? If you recall, if you are performing, let's say this is a cost benefit, so you are doing your project relatively to the industry with some percentage higher. For example, gas oil separation plant is done in the industry for 50 million, you're doing it for 52 million. So that is your cap. And world class, they're doing it below 50 million. So that's basically the difference. In order for you to see how much value the capital efficiency, you take this percent in difference and you multiply it times the value of your capital investments in your portfolio. That should give you how much this will bring back to you in terms of money. So if you are 3-4% above the industry average in terms of cost, and you multiply that 3% for every project you will do, that's how much benefit you will get. If you recall one of the video that Peter Boucher ran yesterday, and we had the senior VP of technical services said that 1%, because Saudi Aramco has a large portfolio, 1% capital efficiency translates to millions of dollars. That's my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Hassan Al-Taham. And I would like to call the BMI KSA to recognize our speaker.